Pops and the Rican.
Pops and the Rican.
Look at this. Pops and the Rican. The Pops and the Rican. What's the Pops and the Rican?
Look at the top of his head. Look at this head.
Pops and the Rican.
Pops and
You had to go right into it. What's going on, everybody? It's the Pops and the Rican show.
Oh, I thought the music was still playing.
Yes,
yes,
yes, you were jamming, bro. You were jamming.
Yeah,
you were quarantine jamming.
I was dancing like no one was watching.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's nobody there. Nobody.
Last time I did that, they haven't allowed me to go back to Target. I don't know. So, anyway,
man.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
You know, if I was any better, I think I was you.
That's right.
It doesn't get any better than
doesn't
to be
get better than that, baby.
just to imagine to be the Rican. That would be so cool.
You know what? Somebody had text us and said, "You keep saying Pops and the Rican, but you don't say your names. They don't know us personally about our names, like our first names."
Well,
but if you don't know us,
I'm Pops
by now, and I'm the Rican,
and that makes this the Pops and the Rican show. Yeah,
let's just get it right.
And so, if you're looking for you can call me Pops if you want to, and you can call him Rico. I'm just kidding,
bro.
He hates it when I say that.
I can't stand it.
That's the nice thing about us being socially distanced is he's not slapping me in the back of the head right now.
He's gonna reach over and just.
I hope.
Exactly.
I hope he forgets by the time we get back together.
But if you don't know, we are the owners of Gutty's Comedy Club here in Greenwood, Indiana. That's Dennis Tooley and I'm Steve Rivera. Dennis Pops, I'm the Rican, and this is the Pops and the Rican show, and we're excited for another show that we're gonna have today. We have a great show lined up. We always have some really great guests on our show that pretty much brings so much wisdom, and we appreciate that. Not only that, but experience, and also just overall all about comedy. And I love it. I love being able to connect with other comedians that are in the game. Even at this time that we're in right now, I love connecting with them. I love being able to keep that synergy going. You know what I mean? And there's Gus making an entrance.
I don't know if you can see him, but Gus just hit the desk where I'm sitting at, and he's just like hit it with his head. He's like, I think he wants me to open the door to let him out.
He wants in.
He wanted in the studio, and I let him in, but I closed the door so I don't get all the ambient noise from out there.
Awesome.
But now he's wanting out. So you go ahead and introduce our guest, and when I'll come back, and hopefully I can join in.
You can get
the
that
conversation. I'm going to go let him out.
Okay, let him out.
It's
all good. All right, so I'll go ahead and introduce our guest today. We pretty much have been able to get him on the show, and I'm excited about it because I've been able to connect with Nat and through Ian Gutowski. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce y'all to the show, please. There he is. Hello, Nat.
What up, gang?
How you doing, man?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Quarantine life of ours.
We are here in this quarantine craziness, man. I'm glad that you're able to find some time in your busy schedule, I'm sure, at home.
Schedule of Netflix and baking cookies. Yeah, man.
Thanks again for joining.
I'm Breaking Bad right now for this, so my time is valuable.
Well,
that's awesome, man.
If I'd have known you were making cookies, we might have gone ahead and had this in where we were face to face because I like cookies.
Guys, like, well, you can tell.
Yeah, when I see you guys in 3 years or whenever we're allowed to travel again. How is it in Indiana, by the way?
When was that?
No, he said, "How is it?"
Oh, I was in. Yeah,
No.
Indiana actually.
It's still pretty much the shutdown state. They're talking about slowly easing back into some stuff and letting some people the 1st of May, letting people, go outside to go to the bathroom. I'm not sure why, but it's like an Indiana thing, I guess. I don't know. But no, they are, they're slowly getting ready to reopen things, and they've got a plan as to how they're going to want to ease back into things. But we haven't been given any specific date that we can target to reopen the club. And that's where, Steve and I are kind of going stir crazy, wanting to get back at it where we can have people in the door,
They say we're not going to get fully back to normal until we reach either a vaccine or herd immunity. And a vaccine is at least another year to 18 months away. But on the plus side, based off of current studies, it looks like the coronavirus is actually much more viral than we thought it was, but less fatal. So I think right now they're estimating we might be closing in on 20% of people in the U.S. who have had it. And that means I think herd immunity starts kicking in around 50 to 60%. So, only a couple more tens of thousands of deaths, and maybe we'll get to go outside again before the vaccine hits.
That's crazy, man.
Well,
wow. Man, so that's a good minute. I mean, they're already talking about opening up shop here within a month or so.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be they'll have some parameters where they will say, okay, you can open the club, you can open businesses back, but you need to keep the number of people that you're allowing into any establishment under a certain number, and they still have to maintain social distancing. And there's going to be some changes, and I believe they're going to become some long-term changes that will be impacting us for this foreseeable future. But I'm okay if we can just get back to doing something with business as we need it to be, instead of standing around watching Netflix and Hulu and I don't know. I'm just making this up as I go along because I don't even have a TV.
Right.
Oh, look at you, big time reader.
I know. Exactly. Don't let them fool you.
I didn't even say that, did I? I just said I don't have a TV. I'm bored. That's pretty much what it is. I wait for this moment where we can get in and have a guest, so it looks like I'm on TV. I'm watching TV. I'm like, hey, look, everybody, it's Nat. He's on TV. Let's watch.
Oh, cool. That could be your entertainment for the week. That is not at all pressure on me. It's like, oh, cool. I just like to be as interesting as Rick and Morty for the however long we're on here. No,
that's awesome. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Where you're from, and how'd you get into the game?
I am originally from Florida. I'm now in Los Angeles. I got into comedy in college in Florida. Had a degree in creative writing, realized, I can either move to New York, I can move to LA, or I can stay in Florida, get a job at Disney World, go to sleep one day, wake up, realize I'm in my 40s and I've thrown my life away. I've never seen snow. California it is. And here we are.
That's awesome. You did all that in 1 minute, bro. I appreciate that, man. You just condensed it all, man. I appreciate that. That's crazy, man. So now, okay, so then basically what are you before this whole crazy stuff? What were you into? What were you getting into? What were you doing? Just basic stand-up?
Oh, man, like any comedian, got my fingers in all the soups, I was touring, doing stand-up comedy. I was writing sketches with friends, doing web videos, had some screenplays here and there, some pilots, anything, like that's the joke that Mitch Hedberg did way back when of when you do comedy, they say, okay, what else do you do? And it's true, in Los Angeles, if you did manager or agent, the first thing they asked is, cool, you're a great comedian. What else do you do? And so you always have to say, oh, well, I wrote this, or I produced that, or I've got this podcast. So if you guys are doing a podcast, you're ahead of the game. God bless you.
Well, looky there.
Look at that. We're ahead of the game.
We're ready to move to LA, Steve. Let's go.
No, but I appreciate that. It's true. It's like things have changed, obviously, since then, the days of Mitch Hedberg and everything. because everything is now so viral and so quick and microwavable that it's just everything's access this, access that. You got to be quick. So did you adjust well with the whole going from hustling really hard in the clubs and grinding every single night to let me just throw my video on YouTube and become famous? Like, did you embrace the technology, or was that something that you were kind of like, I still want to do it the old school way?
Well, I would say that no one's really getting famous off of stand-up right now. I mean, there's Zoom shows. I've done, one of them. I got a couple more on the calendar coming up. They're fun, but it's just, it'll lightly scratch that itch, but it's not as satisfying. And I think people enjoy them. I'm happy they do, but it just really isn't the same. I'm sure someone is going to put out a Zoom stand-up special, and it'll be a fun time capsule of what a weird, point in history we're in right now. But in terms of just keeping busy, I write my jokes. I've been doing comedy long enough that I have an idea for what works, what doesn't work, just tighten things up. And so this way I can, still test them out on the Zoom show. But besides that, I'll write some funny essays or some sketches or just any number of things to keep busy. Because I miss comedy. I miss the instant gratification you get of, I wrote a joke today, I tried out tonight, it got a laugh, yay. Because I was a writer first, and I love the process of writing, but it is very much sit down by yourself for days, if not months at a time, churning something out, sending it to friends, hoping they actually read it when they say they're going to read it, hit their notes, do it all again. Where I'm like, it's the same process with comedy, but it's so expedited, it just makes it more satisfactory, I guess.
That's a good point.
So Nat, let me ask you, when you talk about writing, particularly when you're talking about writing for stand-up, we've got a number of folks that will, I don't know if they're here with us live or if they'll come around and watch or listen to the podcast afterwards, that are in those early stages of doing comedy. And we get asked those questions about how do I write, So let's talk a little bit about your process of writing for your stand-up. What's, are you like a pen to paper type person? Are you typing on your computer? What's some of your basic process that you kind of go through in terms of finding material, honing it down, and putting it into a joke?
So in the most physical sense, I write on my phone these days. I used to be very strictly pen and paper, but I like the phone just because, comedy should be about rewriting. It's not supposed to be, I wrote something down, I tried it, it doesn't work. Oh, the audience doesn't understand. This joke is perfect, I'm going to keep doing it. No, comedy's all about, I always say it's like, oh, I'm going back to the lab. It's trial and error. It's, let's see, that didn't work. Okay, but it looked like it was going in the right direction, so let me erase this. And just in terms of motivation, when you have to physically write something out and then cross it all out and then physically write it all out again, it's frustrating. It makes you want to quit. Whereas with the phone, it's just, oh, I can just copy and paste. I can delete this section, rewrite it here. So that's just what I've been doing. Just also does when your phone is always on you. So you think of an idea, you whip it out, you type it, you put it back away. And it's also just nice if, you're on a bus or a train, back in the days when we were allowed to be on such vehicles, that you can just be working on it while you're on the go.
I will say that the last flight I was on, the lady that was sitting next to me, she got a little annoyed when I woke up in the middle of the flight with an idea and I voice texted it to myself. She was like, shut up. Like, I got to get this idea down right away, lady. Shut up. But,
yeah. Here's the thing. Is she upset because you woke you, or is she upset because it was a terrible premise? Like, what if she woke up and went back to sleep?
I didn't ask her, and I didn't really care to ask her. But thanks for making funny. Thanks for making me question my own abilities, Nat. I appreciate it.
She wakes up. She's like, Jim Norton did that bit back in 2002. It's like, whoa, he is knowledgeable.
Right, exactly. He's going to call you out, you hack.
Everybody's a critic. Shut up, Grandma.
Right, exactly. I'm kind of like the same way too. Is when I write my stuff, I'm actually a little bit more organized when I'm writing my material, because I use Google Docs to be able to just, everything has a little spot in, I call it the green room. The dark room actually is when I throw in all the ideas that I have. Just throw them all in there, And then I have another spot where it's just a chopping block. So I'll take the ideas that are in the dark room, bring them to the chopping block, and just start writing and chopping them up. And then I test it. And then when it has a positive response, then it goes into just total rewrite. So like the rewrite folder is all the jokes that have gotten a really good response. And then that's when I got to just polish it up and throw it into the final. And that's when I can use it. So I go through that like different stages. I'm a little bit more OCD. Some comics, they like pulling out their old notebooks and they're like flipping to page 15 because they know right there is like this one joke that they were able to work on, and they got all these scribbles everywhere. But I just feel that, everybody has that approach, but the idea is to continue to rewrite no matter what, until you get that thing really polished. And then, you can set it up on a shelf. That's very rare, but the jokes that work shelf, it's like, okay, this works no matter where I'm at. It definitely can. It might have a little bit more to work on, but I definitely put it on that shelf. So it's cool to see that it goes from I'm driving to work and I'm talking and I'm recording on my phone as I'm driving. I got 45-minute drive, so I got 45 minutes to be able to just throw out ideas. And then I just take those recordings and just transfer them to Google Docs. And I'm able to just listen through that and then be able to type it out. So that's kind of like the method I have for myself. But I just see that every time we ask these questions, it's great to see everybody's approach, because it's always going to be different in that approach. So it's really good to know that it's kind of like the same.
Steve said he uses the OCD method of writing. I use the IPD method. It's every time the Indianapolis Police Department picks me up, I start writing new material. I don't know.
There it is. Write that down, bro. It's got a lot of work to rewrite it.
Yeah, I would say, like, no matter what, I mean, everyone's process is going to be a little bit different. If you're new and you're listening to this and you're thinking, how am I supposed to write? You just write for whatever works for you. Like, if you're here, because, some comics are going to say, I write for 2 hours every single day. And for some people, that's great. It's wonderful. But if it's going to make you hate comedy, don't do that. Write when I wouldn't say write when you're inspired, because you're just going to sit around waiting to be inspired. I would say the two biggest things you need, no matter who you are in comedy, in terms of writing specifically, is observation and discipline. Observation, just always be on the lookout for something that's funny, or when you notice something that's funny, write it down. And then the discipline is going to be just putting it together in a structure that will actually be presentable on stage. And some people do that by sitting down and meticulously writing out word for word. Some people do bullet points. Some people don't write anything down. They just take the observations to the stage. That's the point of discipline, also actually having to go do that.
Right.
One of the things that I talk about when I'm teaching a comedy class, I did a little bit of research, and there's enough evidence that says after about 15 to 20 minutes, your brain gets bored with what you're doing. And so I always tell my students when I'm talking with them, don't write for more than 20 minutes at a time. Because you'll get bored, and after 20 minutes, the stuff you're going to write isn't going to be as effective. So write it down in the short amount of time, go back to it, and then go back to doing you. And as you said, the rewriting process is the most important piece, more important than the writing process. So get down what you can in 20 minutes, and then come back to it later with fresh eyes and start to rework it. And so that's part of the way I operate. I don't spend hours writing every day. I may spend a total of a couple of hours spread out in 15, 20-minute blocks throughout the day, but I'm not going to sit down and do 2 hours straight. Because I'll take a nap.
Right. That's cool. And the way I actually stumbled on it, the way I was able to find out about who you were was through Ian Gutowski. And we're doing the whole writing. We're talking about writing. It's a good transition into that, because of the fact that when you guys go live, you guys do these writing sessions that I think is just gold. And if you're a comic and you don't know what's going on, you want to find out and network with other comics that are like-minded, that want to help you, that are not just pulling you down, don't want you to succeed. Actually, if you show up and go to and follow Ian Gutowski, we had him on our last Pops and Rican show. You join with Ian, and I'm telling you, these quick and easy ways to get to that funny has helped me big time, because the writing blocks that come in that I'm sure every comedian does, at least either the beginners or as you're going through, when you get a writing block, there's always this issue of I can't find out what to write. I don't know what to write. And you guys have these, especially Ian introduced us to his writing methods, to his techniques. And man, I'm telling you, the help that you guys have been given for me personally in my writing career has just been huge, because it's gone from, okay, I have to write so much and I have to get so much down, and so I can get it going. But yet I don't know where to start. The techniques that you guys have been given has just been huge to be able to write. So I just wanted to ask, without giving away the whole thing, because I know you guys got things going, but what's like the best technique for you to go ahead and get over a writer's block?
So for me personally, it's just, if you are stuck on something, just start on something else. Because a lot of times it's that, cliche of absence makes the heart grow fonder. Because I'll have a week where I decide, okay, this entire week, I'm just going to work on one bit. I'm just going to hammer it until it's perfect. And sometimes that works. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes I'll find new angles every single day. And when I reopen my phone to that particular note, I'll just say, oh, this is something I missed here, or this is something I missed here, and this is great. But some weeks, I'll be looking at a bit and think, I don't know what to do with this. It's not working. What do I do? What do I do? From there, I'll just go, I'm just going to do a different joke, or I'm going to work on a sketch, or I'm going to work on something else, or I don't know, just take a day off. Because a lot of times what will happen is your brain will just get so fixated on something, you can't see the macro. You're just so stuck in the micro that if you go to something, you're like, oh, I haven't seen this joke in weeks. And all of a sudden, oh, there's something new here, something fresh here. That's why I think it's good to be prolific, to just always have something on the plates. Because I have some jokes, honestly, like there was a bit I had back when I first started in 2008. I want to say it was maybe the last time I did this joke. And it was fine. It was, a blue joke that didn't have any context. It was just shock value for the sake of shock value. And it only did me so far. But all of a sudden, years later, I'm working on a bit that has a big point to it. And then this joke fits inside of this, and realize, oh, look at that. So all of a sudden, 10 plus years later, I have a home for this joke. So I would say don't throw anything away, but also don't be afraid to cut something if it's not working, or if it's just slowing you down.
Awesome. That's good, because that's what, as a designer, because I worked full-time, or I'm working full-time as a designer too as well. So as a designer, sometimes when I'm working on marketing material for Gutties or whatever, sometimes I get stuck too as well on what to actually do, because I've been working on the same thing over and over. And what I do is kind of similar to Dennis's 20 minutes. It's kind of like the Pomodoro effect, where you do 25 minutes of designing and then you take a 5-minute pause. And then after that 5-minute break, you come back to it and you're able to just refresh, almost like rebooting your brain, because you're just stepping away from the creativity and allowing your brain to catch up. It's kind of like when a computer is processing so much, and if you're running it all day, you can tell that it starts lagging and starts acting funny, and you're not shutting it down. So it's kind of the same way, in essence, what you're saying is just, totally redirects, almost like shifting your brain to something else, so that you can focus on that. And then it's almost like as you're doing this, and I've seen this happen too as well in design, is as you're working here with this, then an idea comes up, with a joke comes up, and you're like, oh, there it is. There's the link to what I can do with that one.
So who's this Pomodoro guy you were talking about?
The Pomodoro effect.
Is that the guy that pokes the bull and cuts him before the bullfight, so the other guy can?
No,
I don't.
Don't do it.
Because I'm just wondering, because otherwise, if he's stealing my idea of keeping your writing time short, I want some royalties. That's all I'm saying.
It's the Pomodoro effect. If you look it up, it's basically it's a time. They use a cooking timer, but it was the shape of a tomato. The Pomodoro is like in Italy, the shape of a tomato, and so you put the 25 minutes, and then when it hits, you're done. Then you hit 5 minutes.
Okay, Nat, just so you know, I really wasn't all that interested in really knowing who
Man, bro,
what
for
all
real,
this was.
I had to break it down.
I was just trying to segue into.
I was giving you some
Man, I love
insight, bro,
learn.
some knowledge.
I want to
So
hear all about tomato timers. That is my jam. That is my tomato jam.
You know what, guys? Come on,
next
man.
week on the Pops and Rican show, we're going to talk about tomato sauce.
There it is. It's not going to stop. There we go.
Italian gravy.
There we go.
There we go.
So yeah. So Nat, you've talked a couple of different times. You've mentioned it a couple of different times about writing, where you'll do some work on a bit, and then you go to doing some sketch writing, kind of as a opposite, or not necessarily opposite, but a different aspect of writing. How different is the process for writing sketch versus writing stand-up?
Yeah.
I mean, are there specific steps that are completely different, or where's the connecting point?
Yeah, I would say it's the same muscle, and that, comedy is the general muscle. It's kind of like the difference between doing CrossFit versus doing powerlifting. You're still working out the same muscles, you're just working them out in different ways and different structures. So I would say the most important thing, no matter what you're doing with comedy or any form of writing, but comedy especially, is make sure the premise is clear. That is the first thing you need to do if you're writing a sketch, if you're writing a web series, if you're writing a joke, anything. You just want to make sure that the premise is clear up front. And then from there, it's, a little bit different. Joke writing is very much, I am on stage, I am talking my point of view, here's what I think, blah, 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 or story, blah, blah, blah. Or a sketch is very much, you don't just jump right into the joke. You have to sort of establish a little bit the world we're in. You have to sort of establish what the game is, the idiosyncrasy, the weirdness that's happening, that's going to be going. And then from there, you escalate. Whereas, joke writing, you can just very much be, hey, here's a funny thing I noticed, boom, premise, and then here, tag, 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 tag. So it is different, but you can see the similarities in the musculature and how it all sort of comes together.
Oh, nice.
Now, I know you have at least a workshop, but do you have like a couple different levels of workshops in terms of sketch writing if somebody's interested in learning more about sketch writing?
Not particularly. I just did the one with Ian, and it's very much a lot of it, because I kind of believe with sketch writing, like with joke writing and comedy, is you can definitely, I can do an advanced course, but it's very much going to be the same thing I said in the previous course. Like the first time I ever taught stand-up comedy is a friend of mine who was, like a touring comedian for years and years, used to teach at the West Side Comedy Theater out here in LA. He had to leave, and he recommended me for the job. I had never taught before. I interviewed just to be like, hey, I don't know what really I'm doing. We talked about comedy. He said, oh, you'd probably be good at this. Go on in. And so, I was teaching their advanced course, and it was very much like, hey, I'm just teaching you the things that you should have been taught in the first course. And if you hadn't, well, you're going to learn it now. And if you had, you're just going to learn it again. I'm of the mind that you need to just do it in order to, get better at it. But you also need the basics. And so I'm very much of the mindset of, let me just teach you as much as I can in a basic course, give you some examples. If, I know you, if you want to send me your stuff, I'll read it and I'll give you honest feedback. And I'm also a big proponent of honest feedback. I'll do the compliment sandwich where I say, hey, here's the good stuff. Here's what needs to change. But hey, here's the good stuff, and you're in the right direction. Sometimes the compliment sandwich is, a New York deli sandwich where it's like very little bread and a whole lot of corned beef in there. But,
right.
I'm just going to give you the basics. And with sketch writing, for example, you just need to know the basics, which is this. Establish the game as quick as you can, the game being the weird thing that's going on that we're going to be following, and then escalate. And, escalating is obviously, it starts off kind of weird. It gets, more and more conflict, heightened, and then conclude it either with, a punchline or just like the natural resolution of said escalations. And a lot of times when you have that in mind, I would just say, here's a couple of examples of sketches. You can see exactly what the game is, what the escalations are. Now watch as many sketches as you can with that in mind. Now try it yourself. Because my whole, I think my method of learning comedy and getting better at it was rooted in video games as a kid. Like my favorite video game series was Mega Man. And in order to win in Mega Man, you had to fight bosses and you had to figure out what their pattern was. And then you had to sort of just adjust accordingly to beat them through that pattern. And that's all comedy is. It's just, oh, I noticed a pattern in joke writing. They always establish this thing, and then they always say this funny thing, and they always do this thing. It's the same thing in sketches. Is you notice the pattern, you play with it, and then once you sort of figure out the pattern, then you know, okay, now I know how to play with this pattern in such a way I can subvert it and have people still follow along. So a lot of times people will say, oh, well, sketches are kind of the same. I'm going to do something wildly different, and no one knows what you're doing.
I will say my favorite video game growing up was Pong.
Oh, there it is.
I'm just.
But even then, you can find patterns in your opponent because it's a very simple game. It's just table tennis. But at the same time, if you notice, oh, my opponent always tries to block low or hit high, then you know what to expect and how to get better at it.
That's exactly what. At least growing up and watching comedy, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, there's a way that they're doing it. I grew up in the church, and my father always interjected comedy in his sermons. And so when he did that, it was like, I like what that is. I like the way that he's letting everybody, having a good time and everybody's good. Like, I want to know what that is. And then when I started stumbling into comedy, I started noticing that there was a pattern, just kind of like a sermon in essence, where you're preparing what you're going to say and you're going to do what these specific act outs, or depending on what kind of comic you are. But I was like, what is the science behind it? Because I didn't know what the setup or punchline was. And so it just knowing a pattern and seeing a rhythm of when comics are just hitting a rhythm and they're going in and you could just see it's just popping. It's like, what is that pattern specifically? And for me, that's why I was very cerebral in learning about comedy versus just stumbling on it and then taking the talent of being funny and then marrying that together was like the final aha moment of, okay, I got the structure. Now I'm going to take a little bit of my talent and see if I can make this dance a little bit. And that's how I was able to stumble on how to write the comedy, how to perform it, because you definitely need the talent. Because I'm not going to sit here and say that, you just write out stuff and you're going to be funny. It's just, you got to have some talent and funny. But outside of that, you just definitely have to be able to perform on the spot with the structure. And so knowing that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And like with everything else, it's very much practice. Comedy is a muscle. It's something that you can work on and get better at. Some people are also, it's like genetics. Jay Cutler, not the football player, was a bodybuilder.
Yep.
Yeah, he was a Mr. Olympia at one point. And it's the most frustrating thing in the world to hear. But the reason he got into bodybuilding is because at age 17, he looked at professional bodybuilders and realized, wow, I've never worked out a day in my life, and I looked like that already. What would happen if I tried? And so, after 6 months of working out, he entered his first competition and won. That's genetics is what that is. And some people are just naturally very funny, and they'll have an easier road. And for a lot of people, you're not naturally that funny, but you can figure out joke structure, you can figure out delivery, you can figure out timing, you can figure out all that stuff, and you can get better at it. And then there are some people, God bless them, like for me with bodybuilding, look at how skinny my wrist is. No matter how many bicep curls I do or how many, reverse curls I do, my wrist is not going to get any bigger than that. I'm not genetically predisposed to be, 300 pounds of muscle. That's not going to happen. So some people aren't going to be that funny because they just don't have it in them to know what that is. Some people have, the potential for it, and some people are just kind of born already there.
If it makes you feel any better, the bodybuilder Jake Cutler was actually a better quarterback than the other Jake Cutler.
Take that guy to the sport I don't watch.
Oh man, just had to throw that in there.
You may not know this, but the Rican happens to be a big Bears fan.
Go Bears!
I told him I think they have medication. They have medication for that. I think they, Prozac or something like that. I'm not sure what it is, but I try to help them out with that every once in a while.
You're on fire today, bro. You're on fire.
So, in terms of some of this, the advice that you're giving, great wisdom that you're throwing down for us. this isn't something that you just kind of read in a book, though. You've actually put a lot of this stuff into practice, and you've had some success out there in La La Land out there on the left coast. What are some of the things, some of the writing things that you've done out there in the LA area?
So a lot of my writing has been very much sort of nothing super duper major, but it's always been that thing where my fiance has the best way of putting it, where every year it feels like, it's like, oh man, I'm still where I'm at last year. She'll say, no. People are still telling you no, but better people are telling you no now.
That's good.
Better people are telling you no.
Yeah, it's like to see progress in my career. A couple of years ago, it was Bonkers Comedy Club telling me no. Now it's, Comedy Central and Nickelodeon give me, we're sorry to inform you letters.
Right,
so,
right.
It's very much like I was a finalist in a Nickelodeon writing contest. So that's a pitch to Nickelodeon last year, a show. I'm hoping, assuming this will get lifted before the end of the year, I'll get to pitch them again soon. Friends of mine, sketches, I'm a contributing writer on. Some of them have, shown up on Comedy Central and the LOL network with Kevin Hart. And in between then, just writing on different pilots that we've been trying to get it to different networks to show off. So that's the thing, man. It's just like I said with comedy, so you have to do everything else to just throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. So that's the weird, it's the weird thing in the industry. It's all about, I hate the term, but it's what they call it. It's heat. You always want to get that heat on you, which means just eyeballs are on you. People are excited about you. And that's what it is with stand-up. I've been doing this 13 years now. I headline a couple places, feature it a lot because I don't have any major credits beyond, an Amazon Prime appearance here and a little YouTube thing here. So it's very much if I can, sell a show and all of a sudden oh, I'm the creator of this show and I perform on this show. All of a sudden I go from, featuring at A clubs to, oh, I'm now headlining these A clubs or maybe even headlining theaters. And it's not like overnight I just became better at stand-up all of a sudden. It's just that I have a platform where everybody knows who I am. And the cool thing about today, and I don't mean today before coronavirus, I mean today is a lot of the gatekeepers are gone. So you can put your stuff directly on YouTube. You can put your stuff directly on Instagram. And it's a bit of a roll of the dice because, sometimes it blows up, sometimes it doesn't. But I know people who they don't have any TV credits, but they have 1 million Instagram followers. So they only do theaters because it doesn't make sense for them to do comedy clubs because they don't pay them as much. And I mean improv. So they just completely bypassed improvs into going into theaters and arenas.
Wow. See, that's what I was talking about earlier is the difference of how it is now versus how it was before, because you had to really grind to get a name out there and to really get a brand yourself as a comic, as a business. But now you just have that option where it's possible, but at least it's an option where that if you have a really good 5-10 minute, even 30-minute piece online, you can get noticed and somebody can stumble on your video. And then now, okay, I got followers. And a lot of the clubs out there they've embraced this whole thing of, okay, they got followers. So that means butts in the seats. And so because butts in the seats, we're going to get tickets sold. We're going to stay alive. They're embracing that as well. And sometimes it kind of degrades the quality, but at the same time, you're still staying alive with this new trend. So it's like, it is a crapshoot when you're working with someone who, became a YouTube star versus someone who's been putting, work 13 years, like you're talking about. You put in work 13 years, you've been hustling, grinding. It's like you don't want to compromise the quality, but at the same time, you definitely need to make sure that the club is going. At least as a club owner, like ourselves, it's like we want to keep the club going, but we definitely don't want to compromise on the quality. But some comedians who did go through the YouTube train are doing amazing, and they're doing great, and their shows are great. So you kind of have to play that role of, okay, are they going to do good or not? And we're just going to play that. And it's an interesting world now that we live in with this technology out there. I like that too. Like you were saying too earlier, when you say I'm a comedian and they're like, yeah, what else do you do? I noticed that. I know it's a small. It's work. In like you were saying, you're throwing as much as you can out there to see what sticks. And I noticed that you do also had a video out or a movie out in 2018, Lazy Day. Is that right?
Oh yeah, that was a sketch I did with a buddy of mine.
Okay, so that's just another avenue of being able to, hey, I'm out there. Not only am I hustling on the comedy scene and making things happen, I'm writing sketches for Nickelodeon. I'm putting stuff out there, and I think that is one of the major things that we try to push for all the comics that follow us as well. Is we like to let them know you got to be in and be very innovative in whatever you're doing. Just be innovative. Try to put as much as you can out there and be in front of people so that they can see that you're doing something. And if you're constantly putting out content, there's more chance for you to get noticed. So it's really just hustling even more. But the thing is, it's so instant. Like I said, like you can hustle, but if you go in front of like the comedy club before you go up in 5 minutes to say, look, I'm about to go up on stage, at least you're putting live content out there. You're out there and people are seeing what you're doing rather than not knowing, okay, I didn't even know you were at a comedy club this weekend. So it's really just embracing all of that and putting that hustle and that grind in.
Yeah, and I'll give you a good concrete reason why. Because, from my first time doing comedy, I was saying, oh, you have to do other stuff. And I was always thinking, why do I have to do this other stuff? I like comedy. I want to be a comedian. It's because in order to be a comedian, you need people to come see you and pay to see your show. And, you can only get so much notoriety if you're doing the road all the time. I have friends who, to this day, are the best headliners I've ever seen. They were the best headliners I've seen from day one to this day. They've only gotten better. They'll bury most any celebrity you've heard of on the road. Even they're like, oh, even this person, yeah, especially that person. But they've only done the road. They don't go to LA. They don't go to New York. There's no industry seeing them, so they're just stuck on the road. They have to, do the B rooms headline, and they can only feature at the A rooms. They bury the celebrities so they don't get invited back to the A rooms because nobody wants to follow them. And that's why you need to put your own stuff out. You need to have your own fan base, and you can build a fan base on the road. It's just a 20, 30-year process, and you're only going to get so much people because a lot of the clubs you're doing, they're people who were papered into the room, meaning they didn't pay to be there. They don't care to be there. So they show up. They're not even paying attention to the show. They like you. They don't remember anything about the show because they were drunk because they saved so much money on tickets. I might as well spend it on alcohol now. So you just have to just make your own name for yourself. And what you were saying before about, YouTubers and Instagrammers and all these people coming in, I've never run a comedy club. I don't own a comedy club like you guys, but I 100% get it because I've heard comedy club owners say, hey, we have this back in the day of Vine stars. We have this Vine star come in on a Wednesday, sell out, 150 seats at $20 a seat. That pays for all of our expenses for the week. Yep. So this weekend is just icing on the cake for us. So they can take a chance on someone like me who doesn't have the big credits, who might not draw that many people if I'm headlining, but they can afford to pay me. They can afford to take that risk. So God bless, get a YouTuber on a Wednesday so, lesser known people like me can headline the full weekend. I get it and I support it. My only thing I don't like is when they will come in on a Wednesday and think, oh, I'm better than George Carlin. Look at me selling out this club. And then you bomb, but you've never done comedy before. You don't know what bombing is.
That's it. And that's the gamble that we make, because we sacrifice, in essence, if it's not someone that we've followed before, because I follow enough YouTubers and all, it just, and I can tell, okay, this is going to work at the club, versus someone who is just throwing stuff out there. They're gaining traction. They're trending. And then it's like, okay, you're coming to a real life show. Are you ready for something like that? Do you have any kind of experience, at least on stage? Because we don't want to sacrifice the quality. We want to be able to bring in quality, but also people in the seats. So that is a gamble.
And even then, a lot of times it's not as much of a gamble as you would think, because a lot of times these people are bringing in their fans, and their fans have never been to a comedy club before. They've never been to a live comedy show. So they see the show and they're happy just to see their, person that they've been following online for the last couple of years. They're happy. And it only benefits the comedy club further because the comedy club can say, hey, here are some free tickets to this weekend, or here's some free tickets to a following weekend. all of a sudden they show up, see someone they've never heard of before because they got the free tickets. They might be those people who are getting drunk and not contributing, but at the same time, they're extra butts in the seats and they're seeing you and they're getting, wow, this comedy is great. I've never heard of this person. I've never heard of anybody on this calendar, but if they're all as good as this person, I'll be here every week. All of a sudden you have a comedy club that's making more money, which means that it's more places for us to work. Like my biggest fear with this whole pandemic is how many comedy clubs are going to survive this. If, we lose half of them or more, then all of a sudden it's going to be more competitive. And all of a sudden the headliners who would never dare work the rooms that I can headline are going to be going there just to have an extra week on their calendar. And now I can't fill my calendar until I get more credits.
Oh, that's a good point, man.
Well, it's interesting, this whole concept of what the internet has done. You have the YouTube stars that are, rolling in, or the Instagram stars and that. But part of it, and it's one of the things that I talk with, in fact, I was just talking with a buddy, and I was just saying to him, part of utilizing the internet is almost like going back to the early days of bringer shows when when you were wanting to get on and they didn't have a regular open mic night, but you wanted to get on. They were like, okay, you're going to need to bring in so many people because we got to put cheeks in the seats. And so if you're not going to bring in so many people, you're not going to get any time, Well, this with the internet, if young comics or comics at any age would just realize if they could develop a larger following online, that they can then leverage that, it's easier to bring and put cheeks in the seats there for you, which is always a better crowd to have. If the house is full of people that are there to see you and they want you to succeed, they want you to be funny, that's going to be a fun show for you, Yeah. But I'd like to take some of these comics and take them back in the day and go, okay, I want you to experience what a real bringer show was, where you had to hustle and just bug everybody. Please come to this show. Please come spend your money to watch me do 5 to 10 minutes of comedy, please. And so I think it's, being willing to do the work now and put it out online and say to these people, hey, please subscribe to my channel. Please like me. Please hit the like button. And in fact, while I'm saying that, as you're watching, go hit the subscribe button and the like button, that you like this video and you like and subscribe because I'm doing a bringer show right now. Please like ours and subscribe to Gutty's TV, please.
Right, exactly.
Anyway, so I'm going to shut up now.
There you go.
Yeah, no, I mean, bringer shows, I've never done a bringer show where I had to bring the people in. I'm lucky enough that when I even heard about what they were, I was at a point where the producers of them were bringing me in as the ringer and the bringer, where they would throw me up first and get the crowd going. And so this way it's, a bunch of people who've never done comedy before. And it's literally their first time doing stand-up, and they're bringing all their friends. And so there's 15 people all doing stand for the first time. So I go first. I have a good set. Everyone's going, oh, this is going to be a good show. And you have 2 or 3 or 4 people in a row bomb. And they go, man, those were not good, but that first guy was good. So someone else is going to come out and save the day for us. And also, when you're doing a bringer show, it can be rough because I was lucky. They would throw me up first. But man, if you're 7th, 8th, 9th, 15th at a bringer show, because everyone is there to see their person, and when their person goes up, they're happy to leave.
Yep.
So, there's I don't know if now obviously they don't do it, but for a long time they were doing bringer shows in the main room of the Comedy Store. That seats about 200, 250, and you have the room filled, 250 capacity, 20 people on a lineup. 15, 16 deep into that thing, there's about 30 people left. You're going up last. Your 10 people are the only people there, and they're angry at you because they had to sit through 2.5 hours of mediocre comedy, and now you're just bombing in front of your family to no one, who also each of them paid about $40 to be there that night.
Right. Yeah. And so exactly, now they're down $40 and they're like, dude, don't ever ask me to do this again.
The glorious days.
on top of everything else too, because I always try, instead of just being angry for the sake of anger, I always try to see the other side to see if I can see the other person's point of view and why they do it. I get it why clubs do bringer shows. Because like I said, you do a bringer show on a Wednesday, that makes their money for the weekend. They can stay in business. The problem, though, is the fact that you have a room full of people who think this is what stand-up comedy is.
Right.
Never come back to your club. So God bless the YouTubers and Instagram people who are coming in and stinking up the joint, and a room full of people who don't know that this is stinking up the joint.
Right. I agree 100%. It's just like it's almost like an open mic too as well, where you're just like, okay, this is not like how a real show goes, but at the same time, you're giving everybody else a chance and opportunity to be able to find their voice too as well. So I'm glad to be able to do that too as well, to be able to open up the doors and say, okay, look, we got open mic here, and this open mic, you got 5 minutes to do whatever you need to do, work out what you're gonna do, try to do your best. And that's actually a show that we've struggled to fill up. We've had a few shows that filled up because we've, just offered more time on stage if you bring more people. And so that helped. But at the same time, giving somebody, 5 minutes has never done 5 minutes. And then you got we try to limit as many comics because it'll get tiring after a few. And it's just like, okay, this is not how we do our shows. If you come on, our Friday, Saturday shows, you're definitely going to see how a show gets down. But it's trying to really find the balance of those who love comedy versus who've never been to a show. And because we produce a show that is all clean comedy, it's a little different because we get families who've never been to a comedy show. So then they're like, oh, I brought my family, and they don't even know what, how it works. And then you got those who actually been to a comedy show and they're like, yeah, we love it because, I just like to be able to come out and not have to worry about all this other stuff, profanity and all that. And so you have a mixture of a mixture of people who come in who love comedy versus those who have never stepped foot in a comedy show before. And the dynamic is interesting because you got some who will laugh at, immediately at the jokes. And some of them are like, do I laugh at this? Should I laugh at this? I don't know what to do. So, how do I do this? And to see that dynamic is interesting. But we've never gotten to a place where we brought in anybody from on YouTube that has made a big hit yet, at least. And then when we maybe later on, it's just another way to be able to bring in butts in the seats too, as well as just use that as a filler throughout the week. So that way we can at least have a dynamic weekend. So it's just, again, it's based on how we're going to be able to promote that and who can we promote that will definitely bring butts in the seats too as well. So that's it. It's an interesting place to be as a comedy club. Now that it's not just about, hey, send me your headshot and we know that you did this on HBO and you did this on, Comedy Central. It's now, what's your YouTube channel? How many followers do you have? And do you have anything that's online that we can check out? Let me check out your website too as well. So it's an interesting place to be as since we're putting that product as a clean comedy club. It's an interesting thing as far as us coming up with shows to be able to develop it. I think the benefit we have obviously is we're able to provide clean comedy and promote it and market it that way. And so people are kind of more open to come to a show, even if they don't know the comics, to be safe. And they're like, okay, we're safe. At least we'll come and enjoy some comedy, whether he's funny or not. I don't know, but at least it's safe. And so we have that marketing ability to be able to work with that too, as well. So it's an interesting dynamic that Dennis, who does majority of the booking, he's got a balance, and that's tough sometimes to have to work too.
So Nat, let me ask you this before we, because we're almost coming up on the hour here in terms of the show. What's some of the best advice you've been given about comedy, whether it's your sketch, whether it's your stand-up, but in the realm of comedy, what's some of the best advice you've been given?
A few different things. One would be just in terms of pure mechanics of a joke, say it in as few words as you can, have the funny thing be at the end. The other thing is have fun with it, in all honesty. it's so cliche and it sounds so just, oh, this would be fun. But honestly, it is, because it's a business where you're on stage trying to make people smile. And if you don't want to be doing it, people can pick up on that unless you're an incredible actor. And so whenever I meet people on the road, one of the first things I ask them is, hey, how long have you been doing comedy? Do you still enjoy it? Because a lot of times you meet comedians and we're naturally curmudgeonly because that's how we got into comedy. The premise for every single joke ever written is, hey, look, this thing is stupid. That's what we do. We complain. Every single premise is, hey, something's stupid, let me complain about it. And sometimes you do it in an interesting way, but that's what it is. We're just naturally geared to look at the negative of things. But so I always we always complain. It's like, oh, I should have gotten this thing, or oh, this club won't call me back, or blah, 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 blah. And it's easy to just get into a negative loop with comics. So I always like to just ask right up front, do you still enjoy it? Because a lot of times they've never thought about it for years and realize, hey, this is still kind of fun. I get to travel all sorts of places, get paid to tell jokes. That's way better than what most people get to do. So
that's so true.
Enjoy it. Confidence. That's the other thing. I've seen the best written jokes bomb, and I've seen the worst written jokes soar purely because the person believed in it.
Wow.
I say to comics all the time, get up there and have fun. Because if you're having fun, the audience, they're there to have fun. And if you're there having fun, they don't really care was that the best joke they've ever heard? Maybe not, but they're not going to hold that against you as long as they're having fun, you're having fun. They're going to be a whole lot more forgiving if you're truly having fun in the moment. Now, hopefully you've done the work ahead of time and you put you put the effort into writing good, clever material. But once you get past that, you got to have fun because the audience is there. They want to be entertained and have fun with you.
Right.
And they want you to succeed, and they want to go along on the journey to have some fun. So please come have fun. That's like one of my big things when I'm talking before any comic gets on stage. Yeah.
And another piece of advice that I kind of remind myself is, this is advice with a caveat. It's remember that not everyone's going to like what you do. But also remember that if nobody likes what you do, you might need to change what you do.
Yeah.
So for example, I have a very social commentary style where I'll find things. And I always joke around that I don't have jokes. I have essays disguised as stand-up comedy, because it's just a lot of persuasive essays. If you ever heard any of my bits, it's very much like, oh, here's this thing and why it's wrong, or here's me trying to change your perspective on this sort of a thing. And sometimes people just want to go and hear just very simple stuff and not want to hear a giant joke about why I think corporate news media is contributing to mass shootings. I understand. Not everyone's in the mood for that, but my job as a comedian is try to, here's my favorite piece of advice I ever received was from my friends, maybe 6 months into comedy. They said, Nat, as a comedian, you're a salesman and you sell hammers and nails. Here's the thing. Sometimes people just want pizza, but you don't have pizza. And that's a mistake a lot of comedians make. They have hammers and nails. They go up, they see everyone wants pizza. They try to make a pizza in the back of their car, and it comes out terribly because they're not a pizza salesman. They're hammers and nails. Your job is to walk up on that stage and say, forget about pizza. I got hammers and nails. Here's why you want them. And you want to convince those people to leave thinking, wow, I love hammers and nails. Now, sometimes people are going to leave going, I just wanted pizza. That was a great sales pitch, but I'm just not a hammers and nails person. That's fine. Sometimes I have people leaving my shows going, man, that wasn't for me. And that's cool. I'm not for everybody. That's an important thing to have in mind. Go to YouTube, go to your favorite comedian, read the comments. You're going to find people going, man, Dave Chappelle's terrible, or George Carlin is stupid.
True.
You're going to find those things for everybody. And it takes a load off realizing, oh, not everyone's going to like me no matter how good I am at this. That being said, if you go up on stage and bomb horrifically every single night for the entire duration of your career, you can't just say, well, somebody's going to like me eventually, because the problem is probably you at that point.
Yeah, your mom and dad aren't going to be at every show.
That's
and they're
true.
not gonna like your show either.
That's true. That's good.
Well, Nat, I appreciate you taking some
Yeah.
time and hanging out with us today. You have shared some pearls of wisdom, and I appreciate it very much. Before we
Thanks for
part,
having me.
are there any parting challenges or words of advice that you want to share with any of the young comics that may be watching, or maybe an old comic that's looking for a new trick you can teach an old dog? Something that you want to share with us as we're wrapping up the show today.
Yeah, here's my challenge. I would say at open mics, don't be afraid to bomb. That's maybe it's been a detriment in my career, but it shows where I know there's no audience or no industry or bookers or anything like that. I will just go up there and I will try just wild premises. I will go up there and I will just work stuff out. There's a lot of times you feel the need, I have to kill. And that's a good instinct. You should want to make people laugh. It's the whole description of the job. But in order to have new stuff, you need to do that trial and error. You need to fail. And so at those open mics, use them for that. Open with something that you know will make them laugh so you can gain their trust, and then just go out on that ledge. I'm sure, several rooms in LA where people don't think I'm funny at all because I just try new stuff there, and I've bombed every time I've gone. But then all of a sudden I'll release an album and they're like, how is this stuff so good? I've never seen you do well. I'm like, it's because you've never seen me do well. I come here, I find out what doesn't work, I get rid of it, I do better at the other rooms that matter, and all of a sudden, I've got a finished product.
That's awesome.
I know a lot of comedians who are insanely talented and insanely funny. They've also never written a new joke. Well, it's not that they don't write new jokes, they haven't performed a new joke in years because they have that fear of, I can't bomb. I have this reputation of being so funny. If I do a joke and it doesn't work, they're going to know I'm a fraud, and then I'm not going to ever get booked ever again. And then all of a sudden, you're doing the same joke for 15 years, and you wonder why you can't go back to clubs when you've been doing the same act, and people are like, yeah, this is fun, but, I've seen this last year. As a club, as a headliner, they'll have you once a year. And if you do an hour and it's great, they'll have you back. And if you do that same hour, they're like, the club will have you back, but that audience who's seen you, they're not going to come back and see you a third time because I've already seen this before.
I already know.
Right. Yeah.
That's good.
Good stuff. Good
Man,
stuff.
That's good.
So, Nat,
go ahead.
How do people find out about you? Where can they connect with you?
If you got my name spelled on this video, Nat Baimel, yep, there it is. You just Google me. You're going to find me everywhere because I'm the only Nat Baimel in existence. So on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, I'm just at Nat Baimel. And, on my website, I had my dates, but they're all in limbo right now. I'm supposed to be headlining a club in Fargo, North Dakota at the end of June. We'll see if that happens. I'm supposed to be in Wichita 2 weeks after that. We'll see if that happens. I'm supposed to record an album at some point. We'll see if that happens. But in the meantime, you can go to my website and find my current album, Be Nice. It's great. Very proud of it. And, they'll tide you over until I'm able to actually put this new hour to recording, and then it's off to the races again for my next hour after that.
Awesome. That is awesome, man. Thanks again, Nat. I appreciate it, man. Big time. It's great to have you on the show. Appreciate everything.
Thank you guys for having me. This was a joy and a treat.
Awesome, man. Have a great one.
Well, we appreciate you, Nat. Keep up the writing, keep being funny, and keep sending us money.
Will do. Later, gang.
Later. Oh,
yeah,
man.
buddy.
That was awesome.
Man, I tell you, it's fun when you just sit back and your guest just dumps wisdom out. So it doesn't matter what place you are in the game.
Yeah,
you're going to learn something. And Nat did a great job of spilling the wisdom all over the place. And so he's a great guy.
Yeah,
great guy.
My takeaway from that is what I like the most. The highlight from this one is the hammer and nails, man. That was so great. That was such a great analogy on the whole thing. Is don't try to make a pizza. You're selling hammers and nails, and just bring what you know, who you are, what you do, and just serve it, and leave it at that. And man, everything about this one, it was just great. So I'm glad that we were able to have him on.
Yeah. Well, I think then that pretty much wraps up our time. So, hey, before we go, though, I know we say this, we've been saying this for several shows now.
Yep.
But we can't say it enough, and so I'm going to bring it back up. And that's, I want to thank the people who have been supporting us in this dark time where we have not been able to have shows. The lights have been out at the club, and without having shows, without bringing ticket sales in, we're not making money for the club, and we still have bills rolling in. And so, we have asked people to support us by going to GuttiesComedyClub.com/gift, and people have been doing that.
Yeah.
And we appreciate that so much.
Big time.
Because we are still surviving. And, like Nat said, he's concerned about the number of clubs that will close at the end of all of this, that it's going to limit the opportunities for comedians to get on stage. And we are doing everything we can to make sure that doesn't happen at Gutties. And so if you can give a little bit this week, please consider what you can. I don't want you going without groceries or going naked because you didn't buy whatever you needed. But if you can give something, whether it's $1, $100, $1 million, we'll take it all because it'll help us keep moving forward to bring good, family-friendly, clean comedy and entertainment to Gutties Comedy Club. And so please,
there's so many ways to do it too. Yeah, and I agree. 100%. We both have been just thankful and sitting back and thanking everybody who's been supporting Gutties Comedy Club since we started. And since this whole shutdown, it has really put us in a place where we're humble, number one, and number two, because we can't really, there's nothing we can really do. This is the first time anything like this has ever happened. And but at the same time, we are so thankful for everyone who's supported. And this is not, and I want everybody to know too as well, it's not just free money giving it to us. There's so many ways that you can give to as well. You don't have to just give us a donation. You could actually buy some merch, and that merch goes to us too as well. If you go on and download our mobile app, Google Play Store and Apple Store, and if you want to rock Gutties Comedy merch, you can do that. And that's one way to give to as well. The other way is to buy a gift card. If you want to purchase a gift card for future shows, you can do that as well. So that way, when we do open up these doors, when the day comes when we open up these doors, we'll welcome you in, and we can bring in, you can enjoy comedy here at Gutties by purchasing a gift card as well. So there's so many ways to do so. So if you download our mobile app, you'll be able to do that. And you can also follow us, Gutties TV online too as well. You can follow us on Facebook. We're close to 2,000 subscribers, so we're thankful for that too as well. They're still liking us. They're still following us because they believe in what we're doing. And so I thank you for that. And again, man, I'm just happy that we're able to at least bring some content, even though things are dark. We want to bring some more content to you. So when the doors do open, we're going to be ready to go and hit the ground running, of course, with the guidelines and restrictions. But at the same time, we want to see your faces again because we miss you guys so much, and we miss being able to connect with everybody else and bring some laughter because we definitely need it nowadays.
And I'll say this: if you haven't already gone and explored around Gutties TV on YouTube, we do have the Pops and the Rican show, but then we also have some quarantine comedy episodes that we put together before we were told everybody just has to stay home.
Right.
But as soon as it's going to be a while before we're going to be able to actually host regular shows back at the club.
Yeah,
we know that's going to be the case. But as soon as the governor says, okay, if you want to get out and you want to go places and you adhere to the rules of social distancing and you're safe and everything, as soon as they allow some people to travel and move around a little bit more, I know we've got comics that are wanting to come and do some of the quarantine comedy that we started before we got totally, this shutdown complete thing happened. So we'll be putting more content on the Gutties TV channel here on YouTube. And so please continue to support us and continue coming here. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, like the videos so that we know that you're here, and comment if you want us to deal with something, talk about something. If you want Steve to shave off his mustache, just comment and we'll try our best to make it happen.
Yeah.
Maybe not the shaving off the mustache, because I don't want
I
Steve.
don't know.
I don't want Steve's wife coming after me. You know,
Like,
what do you mean?
crazy. What?
And I don't want to know if you want me to shave mine off, because my wife will be like, yes, get it shaved off. And that's
happy.
So we don't want to have it. We don't want to have any issues at home. That's all I'm saying.
No, man, no. It was good. Good episode, man. Good episode tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed it. I hope everybody's able to get something out of that. And who's up next? Who's up next?
Hey, I tell you what, coming up on Wednesday night, it is Monday, right? Yeah. On Wednesday night, my good buddy Brent Reed, Brent and I were, along with two other comics, Dan McGowan and Stephen B. We were part of the Heavyweights of Clean Comedy DVD project we did. Mm-hmm. And man, it's crazy that it's been like 10 years ago when we did that. It doesn't seem like it, but anyway, Brent is he's a bolsterous, in-your-face comic that's a good buddy of mine, and he'll be coming in to talk about life on the road as a comedian. Not only is he a comedian, but his wife is a traveling nurse, and so they kind of move from town to town where she is needed, and he's got stories about that, and that's awesome. It's just all kinds of fun stuff. And so Wednesday night, Brent will be on, and we'll be learning about his life in comedy and some of the lessons he's learned as a road dog, doing what he's been doing for years. And so that's going to be a fun show.
Yep, that's going to be fun.
All right. Well, I guess that's pretty much the end of this episode of the show. And even though it's gone a little over an hour, I'm still Pops.
And I'm the Rican.
And this has been the Pops and the Rican show. All right. So, deuces.
Deuces.
Pops and the Rican.
Pops and the Rican.
Look at this. Pops and the Rican. The Pops and the Rican. What? The Pops and the Rican.
Look at the top of his head. Look at his head.
Pops and the Rican.
Pops and
Come on, subscribe.